Have you ever felt like something you imagined showed up in real life too perfectly to be coincidence? That moment when the hair on your arm stands up and you wonder if you somehow called it into existence, you think. There's no way this is random. And you're right. That's not chance. It's not luck. It's a glitch in reality, a crack in the illusion. And once you know where to look, you can trigger it at will, because reality is not as solid as it seems. Every event, every encounter, every coincidence you've experienced is the visible tip of an invisible web, a web connecting you to people, places, and possibilities you can't yet see. And every thought you think, every emotion you feel, is sending ripples across that web, pulling the unseen closer. The truth, you've been influencing reality your entire life. But without a map, without the tools, without the awareness to do it on purpose. Today that changes, because once you understand the glitch and how to step through it, you'll never see life the same way again. It begins the moment you question what you've been taught about how life works. You were told reality is fixed, that events unfold by chance, that you are separate from everything you desire, that things just happen. But deep down you've felt the pull, moments where your thoughts seemed to echo into the world, and the world echoed back. Science has a name for this, and it's not superstition. It's the evidence that the universe is more like a living mirror, reflecting not what you wish for, but what you broadcast. Every thought is a signal. Every feeling is a frequency. And the field, the invisible fabric that connects all things, is always listening. Here's the secret they never told you. This field doesn't respond to your words. It responds to your state. The vibration you hold when no one is watching. The energy that lingers in your body long after the thought has passed. You can't hide from it, because you are it. And if you've ever seen your imagination spill into the physical world, the glitch you noticed wasn't an accident. It was your signal, finding a match. The same way two instruments tuned to the same note will hum in unison, your mind found its reflection in the vastness of the field. Think of two dice, identical in every way. You roll one here, and someone rolls the other on the other side of the world. Now, imagine, no matter the distance, the outcome of one instantly shapes the outcome of the other. Sounds like magic. It's not. It's a real phenomenon, quantum entanglement, and it changes everything you think you know about separation. Particles, once connected, stay connected, even if the universe itself tries to pull them apart. Change one, and the other responds instantly, faster than light, faster than time, as if they share a secret language. And here's where it gets unsettling. You are made of those same particles. Your thoughts, your emotions, your very being are woven, which means what you feel here can ripple there. What you imagine now can begin shaping what appears next. You felt it before. That sudden phone call from the person you were just thinking about. That job offer that seemed to fall out of the sky. The week you started believing you deserved more. We call it coincidence to feel safe. But in truth, it's the glitch showing it, and if you can learn to hold a frequency long enough, you'll start bending the weave of reality on purpose. The truth is, almost everyone has felt the glitch, but almost no one can hold it, not because they're weak, but because they've been programmed. From the very beginning, to forget from birth, you've been fed the same instructions. Life is hard. Be realistic. Work for what you want, and maybe, and so, without realizing it, your mind learned to disconnect. You were taught to believe the world is separate from you, that there's a gap between the dream and the reality, and every time you try to cross it, an invisible hand pulls you back. Here's what they never told you. That hand is your own subconscious. It's like a hidden transmitter, broadcasting your deepest beliefs 24/7, whether you like them or not. If that transmitter is tuned to fear, scarcity, or doubt, the field hears that frequency and reflects it back. This is why people try affirmations, vision boards, endless motivation, and still feel stuck. It's not the words that create. It's the state beneath the words. And most people have been living in a state that cancels their own signal. But once you see the pattern, once you realize you've been broadcasting the wrong frequency your whole life, something powerful happens. You stop blaming the world and start reprogramming the transmitter. Your subconscious mind is like a living antenna. It's always on, always sending, always receiving. But here's the part most people miss. It's not broadcasting what you want. It's broadcasting what you are. And what you are is shaped in the earliest years of your life. From the moment you were born until about age 7, your brain was operating in a state called theta, a deep, impressionable frequency, like hypnosis. In that state, you weren't just listening to the world. You were absorbing it, word for word, feeling for feeling. Every argument you overheard, every time you saw your parents struggle with money, every warning, every limit, every sigh of "we can't afford," that it all went in and stayed. You didn't know it then, but those moments were setting your default frequency, a blueprint hidden under your conscious mind. That's been deciding what shows up in your life ever since, so you can think all the positive thoughts you want. But if your subconscious is still tuned to scarcity, fear, or unworthiness, the field will match that, not the dream you wrote on paper. Here's the good news. Frequencies can be retuned. The transmitter can be reprogrammed. And once it is, reality doesn't just shift slowly. It snaps into place like it's been waiting for you all along. There comes a moment when the old programming slips, when you catch a thought, a doubt, a fear, a voice that isn't really yours, and for the first time, you don't obey it. Maybe you're about to say, "I can't afford that." But you stop. Maybe you're about to tell yourself, "That never works for me." But you hear the weight in the words, and you choose silence instead. That's the first crack in the code, because in that pause, in that moment between the old reaction and the new choice, you've stepped out of the loop that's been running you for years. It's not dramatic. There's no lightning strike or applause, but something changes in the frequency you're sending, and the field notices. Think of it like tuning a radio. Even the slightest turn of the dial can move you out of static and into a clear, powerful signal. And the clearer your signal, the faster the glitch responds. Most people wait for proof before they believe. But in this reality, you believe first, and the proof comes rushing toward you. And the moment you commit to that new frequency, even before the evidence arrives, you've already shifted timelines. The glitch only works if you can hold the signal. One flash of belief can open the door, but only sustained alignment keeps it open long enough for reality to rearrange. So how do you hold it? You don't force it. You don't chase it. You become it. Every time you wake up in the morning, your mind is most suggestible, halfway between the dream world and the waking one. That's your window. That's when you install the frequency, before the phone, before the news, before the noise of the world pulls you back into the old signal. You close your eyes, slow your breath, and feel, not think, the reality you're creating. If it's abundance, you feel the ease in your chest, as if the bills are already paid. If it's love, you feel the warmth in your body, as if you're already held. If it's freedom, you feel the weight lift from your shoulders, as if you've already walked away from everything that trapped you. It's not pretending. It's not daydreaming. It's broadcasting, because in those moments, the subconscious can't tell the difference between memory and imagination. And the field doesn't care which one is true, it only matches the signal you send. The moment you send out that new signal, something shifts, not out there, but in here. Your breath slows. Your body relaxes. The tension you didn't even know you were carrying starts to dissolve. And in that state, you're no longer trying to create. You're becoming what you've asked for. This is when the field listens most closely. Not when you're desperate, not when you're pushing, but when your entire being is humming at the frequency of already having. That's why the early morning window is sacred. Your brain hasn't yet returned to the constant chatter of beta waves. It's still in the slower rhythms of theta and alpha, where the subconscious is wide open, absorbing every image, every feeling, every belief you choose to feed it. Feed it fear, and you'll lock fear in for the day. Feed it gratitude, and you'll begin to see more things to be grateful for, sometimes within hours. This is where the first coincidences show up. A text from someone you've been thinking about. An unexpected email with an opportunity, a chance meeting that feels perfectly timed. It's not magic, it's resonance. Your new frequency is like a magnet, and the moment it's strong enough, the field begins pulling the matching pieces toward you. The moment your signal gets stronger, the universe listens, and when it listens, it tests, not to punish you, not to block you, but to see if the frequency you're sending is the one you're ready to live in. This is the part that catches almost everyone. You start feeling lighter, opportunities begin to appear, and then, suddenly, a bill you didn't expect arrives. A person from your past stirs old wounds. An obstacle appears, so sharp and sudden, it feels like the universe just slammed the door you were walking through. That's not a door closing. That's the final checkpoint. The moment where the field says, "Show me who you are now when the pressure is on." If you react the old way, panic, fear, shrinking back into doubt, the field reads your true frequency and mirrors it back. But if you hold your new vibration, if you breathe through the moment, keep the feeling of already having alive in your body, the field locks it in. Your new reality begins to stabilize. This is why, when the test comes, you don't collapse, you embody. Because the universe doesn't respond to your words. It responds to your certainty. When the test appears, your old self wants to react, to flinch, to fight, to fall back into the frequency you've lived in for years. But here's the secret. The test isn't here to break you. It's here to confirm you. If you've been broadcasting abundance, and an unexpected bill shows up, that's the universe asking, do you still feel abundant now? If you've been broadcasting self-worth, and someone criticizes you, it's asking, do you still know your value when they don't see it? If you've been broadcasting freedom, and an old cage appears, it's asking, will you walk in Or will you keep walking past? The wrong reaction sends the old signal back out, and reality rewinds. The right reaction, staying calm, breathing deeply, holding the state of already having what you ask for, sends a louder, clearer broadcast than anything you've done before. That's when the field shifts faster. That's when the proof arrives sooner, because you've shown the universe and yourself that the new frequency is not just a momentary spark. It's who you are now. So when the test comes, don't see it as a setback. See it as a sign the glitch is stabilizing. Smile at it. Because on the other side of it is the reality you've been calling toward you all along. Frequency is the signal, but emotion is the fuel. A thought on its own is just a faint ripple in the field. It's the emotion you attach to it that turns it into a wave powerful enough to bend reality around you. Gratitude, love, joy. Not as a performance, not as words you say while feeling empty, but as a state that you actually live. Because here's the truth. The field doesn't care if you're remembering something real or imagining something that hasn't happened yet. If you can feel it fully, your body broadcasts it as if it's already here. Think about that. You can sit in your room, eyes closed, breathing deeply, and your heart can start sending the signal of the life you're building. Right now, not next month, not next year. Now, this is why people who just know something is coming often see it arrive. They're not wishing. They're not hoping. They're vibrating at the emotional state of having it already. The universe doesn't respond to the timeline you want. It responds to the intensity and consistency of the state you hold. The more you live in it, the faster it locks in. And once the state becomes second nature, the glitch is no longer something you notice occasionally. It becomes the way you live. This is where most people stop too soon. They feel the shift once, maybe twice, and then life distracts them. The old signal sneaks back in, and without realizing it, they're broadcasting yesterday's frequency instead of tomorrow's reality. You can't let that happen, because the field is always listening, every hour, every day, and it will mirror whatever you feed it most. So how do you make the new state unshakable? You train it, like a muscle, like breathing, like something your body does without asking permission from your mind. Morning, before the world gets in midday, when the old patterns try to pull you back. Night, before you sleep, when the subconscious is most open 3 times a day, you close your eyes and feel. Not think, feel. You walk through the scene in your mind as if it's real, your hands on the steering wheel of the car you've been calling in, the sound of the front door closing on the home you own, the weight of their arms around you as if they're already here. You don't imagine it to get it. You imagine it to be it. Because repetition doesn't just convince your mind, it rewires your entire frequency. And when the field hears the same clear signal over and over again, it begins to move mountains to match it. There's a moment when the practice stops feeling like practice, when it no longer feels like you're trying to attract anything, because you've slipped into the skin of the version of you who already has it. At first, it feels subtle. You stand a little differently. Your words carry more weight. You make decisions faster because you're not deciding from the fear of what if. This is the identity shift. The point where you no longer chase, you choose. Where you no longer look at the gap between you and your desire, because in your frequency, there is no gap. Here's what most people miss. Identity is the most magnetic force in the field. When you truly are the person who lives in abundance, love, or freedom. The field doesn't have to deliver it to you. It simply reflects you back to yourself. That's why pretending doesn't work. The field can feel the difference between acting and being, but once your thoughts, emotions, and actions are all broadcasting the same frequency, the reality around you has no choice but to sync with it. You're no longer hoping the glitch will show up. You are the glitch. Stepping into your new identity is powerful. But holding it when the world shakes, that's mastery. Because life will still move, storms will still come, people will still show up carrying the echoes of your old frequency, and in those moments your mind will want to slip back into the familiar, into the old self who reacted, doubted, shrank. This is where you anchor, not in what you see, not in what's happening out there, but in the state you've chosen. In here, you breathe, slow and deep. You remember the field mirrors me. It doesn't lead me. You choose the emotion you would have if everything you wanted was already here, even when the evidence says otherwise. Because here's the secret. The outer world lags behind the inner one. Your identity shift happens first. Reality rearranges after. If you let the delay fool you, you fall back into the old broadcast. But if you hold steady, if you remain in the state, the field will catch up, and the evidence will flood in. This is how you become unshakable. Not by avoiding the storms, but by standing in them as the person who has already won. When your identity is stable, something extraordinary happens. Reality doesn't just deliver what you asked for, it starts sending what you couldn't have imagined. Opportunities arrive that weren't on your vision board. Conversations open doors you didn't even know existed. People appear in your life who feel like they were waiting for you all along, because the frequency you're broadcasting isn't a straight line, it spreads. Like light through water, like sound through a canyon. Every thought, every choice, every emotion you hold sends waves into the field. And those waves don't just touch your goals. They touch everything. Your health improves, your relationships shift, your energy levels change. Even strangers begin responding to you differently. Because on some level, they can feel you're carrying a signal they can't quite name. Here's the part that will surprise you. You'll stop caring about when the big manifestation shows up. Because the life you're living right now will already feel aligned, abundant, and full. And that state, that fullness, is exactly what keeps pulling more toward you. The glitch is no longer rare. It's constant. And every day, you wake up wondering not if magic will happen, but how much. Once the ripple begins, you have a choice. You can let it flow on its own, or you can direct it. Because the same field that responds to one frequency will respond to all of them. Think of your life like a web, each strand, your health, your relationships, your finances, your creativity, is connected to the others. When you raise the vibration in one strand, it tugs on all the rest. But when you raise multiple strands at once, the web begins to hum. That hum is momentum, and momentum is unstoppable. So you start to ask yourself new questions, not just what do I want to manifest, but what do I want my whole life to feel like? You take the emotional state you've mastered in one area, maybe abundance, maybe self-worth, maybe love, and you pour it into the others. If you've been feeling worthy of money, you now feel worthy of deep, fulfilling relationships. If you've been vibrating with love, you now let that love spill into your work, your health, your creativity. The field doesn't see categories. It sees frequency, and the more consistently you send out the same high, coherent signal across all areas, the faster reality reshapes itself to match. This is how you turn isolated wins into a complete transformation. Not by forcing change in every corner of your life, but by letting the ripple expand. At first, the glitch feels like a tool, something you uses when you want to call something in, a method you practice, a switch you flip. But if you stay in the frequency long enough, something shifts. You stop reaching for it, because you are it. You walk into rooms differently, not with arrogance, but with the quiet certainty of someone who knows reality will bend. Your decisions feel lighter, because you're no longer gambling on an unknown future. You're simply aligning with the version of you who already exists there. And here's the paradox. When you no longer need to try, the field moves faster, because you've stopped sending mixed signals. There's no gap between who you're being and what you're asking for. This is the point where people around you start saying things like, "You're so lucky. Everything always works out for you." But luck has nothing to do with it. It's alignment, so natural, so constant, that the outer world has no choice but to keep delivering the matching reflection. At this level, the glitch isn't something you trigger, it's something you live inside. And from here, every next level of your life becomes easier to step into than the one before. When you've reached alignment, the greatest threat isn't losing it by accident. It's letting the world pull you back into what you've already outgrown, because the field doesn't just respond to your broadcast. It also reflects the signals you choose to absorb. Every conversation, every headline, every voice you give authority to. It all has the power to tune your dial. This is why you must guard your frequency, like it's sacred. Because it is. You start paying attention to who you let into to what you watch, to what you listen to, not from fear, but from awareness. If something lowers your state, it's not worth your attention, because attention is energy, and energy is creation. This doesn't mean you avoid life. It means you choose the version of life that matches your signal. You decide that no conversation, no opinion, no urgent piece of drama is worth broadcasting a frequency that would pull you back into scarcity, doubt, or fear. And here's the beauty. The more you guard your frequency, the less effort it takes to maintain it. Your environment begins to reflect it back to you automatically, because you've shaped it to match. From here, you're not just living in alignment, you're living in a reality that supports it. Once your frequency is guarded, and your environment reflects it, something unstoppable begins to build momentum. At first, it feels subtle. A few small coincidences stacking together. Then suddenly, the pace quickens. Opportunities overlap. One breakthrough, and you realize you've stepped into a flow where reality is delivering faster than you can even write it down. This is the point where your conscious mind starts to lag behind your life. Your plans feel almost irrelevant, because what's arriving is bigger, cleaner, and more aligned than anything you could have forced through strategy alone. Momentum isn't luck, it's the compound effect of holding your frequency, guarding it, and living inside it long enough for the field to trust it's permanent. Once the field accepts your new state as your true state, it starts feeding it without resistance. Here's the best part. Momentum works both forward and upward. It not only keeps bringing you what you've been aligned with, it starts delivering pieces you didn't even know you wanted until they arrive. And when that happens, you stop asking, "How will I get there?" Because you realize you're already there. And the path is unfolding under your feet faster than you can take the next step. Once momentum takes over, you have two choices. Let it carry you anywhere, or aim it like a beam of light. Because the same energy that's bringing you opportunities can bring you specific opportunities. If you give it direction, you do this by holding a clear emotional target. Not just "I want more money," but "I want the freedom to work from anywhere." Not just "I want love," but "I want a relationship that feels safe, alive, and electric." You let the momentum keep flowing, but you whisper instructions into it through your daily state. And the field, already primed to respond to you, begins fine-tuning what it delivers. This is how you stop living by chance. And when momentum is paired with intention, something strange happens. The time between wanting and having begins to shrink. Opportunities line up faster. The right place, right time moments happen more often. People who can open doors appear exactly when you need them. This is called collapsing the distance, where the outer world rearranges itself at a speed your logical mind can't explain. And the more you stay in state, the more it feels like the universe is sprinting toward you while you're calmly walking toward it. That's when you understand. Manifestation was never about waiting. It was about matching, and when the match is perfect, there's no waiting at all. You've done the work. You've shifted your state. You've guarded your frequency. You've built unstoppable momentum. From here, there's no going back. Not because you can't, but because you no longer fit into the person you used to be. Every cell in your body knows the truth. Now reality is not fixed. The glitch is real, and you can step through it at will. So here's my invitation. Don't wait for the perfect time. Don't wait for more proof. You are the proof. Starting today, decide the state you will live in. Broadcast it without apology. Guard it like it's sacred. And watch the field rearrange itself in your favor again and again, until you don't even remember what it felt like to live any other way. If this spoke to you, comment "I'm ready" below so the universe knows you've claimed it. Then share this with someone you know is ready to remember their power. And most importantly, wake up tomorrow and become the version of you that's already living it. Because the moment you do, the glitch becomes your reality.